So in Genesis 49, we're going to look at how Joseph's family moved to Egypt. And in verses 1 and 2, Joseph presented 5 of his brothers to Pharaoh. Because remember, in Genesis 48, they are shepherds. And shepherds are detestable to Egyptians. So sounds like Joseph is going to try to, what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't know. I can't think of the word right now. But he's going to try to, not plead for them. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. He's presenting them to Pharaoh. In verses 3 and 4, they did exactly what Joseph said. You know, he said in chapter 48, tell them that you've been shepherds and your ancestors were shepherds. So they explained that they are shepherds just as they have been for generations to come, and came to Goshen to escape the famine. Verses 5 through 6. Pharaoh allowed them to stay in the best of the land and to put those with special abilities in charge of all his livestock as well. And so Joseph's family was blessed because of Joseph's obedience. And it's so crazy to think that the people who threw him into slavery and who meant him harm, it's now, they're the ones that are benefiting from it. Pharaoh even put them in charge of their livestock. They had positions that were notable in Pharaoh's, in Egypt. I'm sorry, I'm bad with words today. And that was because, of Joseph's obedience to the Lord and that trickling over. So you just never know. Your obedience, it affects your family, your friends, your loved ones around you. And, when you're blessed, those blessings carry on to those around you as well. Verse 7, Joseph presented Jacob to Pharaoh, which is his father. And Jacob told Pharaoh that he's 130 years old. In verses 11 through 12, Joseph and his family settled in the best part of Egypt, and they were given food. They didn't just settle in Egypt. They were in the best part. And they were given food during that famine when food was very scarce. In verse 13, the famine was severe in Egypt and in Canaan. So it was severe everywhere. And both Egypt and Canaan wasted away. So you can imagine maybe some people looked at Joseph and thought, I thought you said we would be prepared. It's just as bad here in Egypt as it was in Canaan. You never know what his family could have been saying to him or who could have said what, right? But that's what I thought of when I read that. Verse 14, Joseph collected payment in Egypt and Canaan for the grain that they were buying. I wasn't really specific here, but people were coming from all over Egypt and they're purchasing grain. And so Joseph collected that payment. So he had a big responsibility. And in verse 15, when all the money was gone, when the people had spent all their money, they were saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to get food? So Joseph, he said, bring your livestock. You've run out of money, but bring your livestock and we will give you food in exchange for that. So again, Joseph, quick thinker on his feet, but this big responsibility was given to him by God. And so because when God asks us to do something, he will also give us the ability to complete it. And Joseph, clearly was being led by God through this very hard time. I couldn't imagine leading an entire nation through a famine. That's crazy that Joseph was doing it in a place where, Israelites weren't typically accepted. And then in verse 18, the following year, and so they brought their livestock to Joseph for a whole year. So that lasted for a year. And then the following year, the people had nothing left to give in exchange for food except their land. So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. That's insane. So Pharaoh now owns all of the land in Egypt except for the priests, because the priests were given an allotment or a payment from Pharaoh, and that was enough to sustain them in order to buy food. So all of the land of Egypt belonged to Pharaoh. Every single person was affected, not just, the very poor. It said all the land of Egypt. Let's see. And then verse 21, Joseph moved the people to servitude. So he moved them to the cities, except the priests, like I just explained. And in verse 23, Joseph gave them enough seed to plant. He said, okay, I have the land, but here's the seed. Go plant the seed. Give a fifth of whatever you harvest to Pharaoh, and you get to keep the rest. That's a pretty good deal. So they gave Pharaoh only a fifth, and they kept the other 4/5 for themselves and their family. And the people were very grateful. And that actually became a law, as we see in verses 25 through 26. So again, Joseph is he's making moves. He's doing big things. in Egypt. But that became a law. And I'm sure not only was Pharaoh happy with that because he's getting grain and land, and these people are working the land, but they're also happy because they get to keep a lot of the grain for themselves. So it sounds pretty fair. And then verse 27 through 31 says that the Israelites settled in Egypt and they multiplied. And Jacob lived 17 years in Egypt. And I thought it was going to say that he died at 147, but I'm guessing that's coming in the next chapter. But it's saying that he's 147 years old. And when he was that age, he made Joseph promise him that he would bury him where his fathers are buried. So I'm guessing where Abraham and Isaac were buried. And then Jacob worshiped the Lord. So it's good that, Jacob got some time to spend with Joseph after he thought his son was dead. And he's getting to witness firsthand how Joseph is, how God's hand is playing a role in Joseph's life. And I think that's pretty cool. But what were your thoughts on this chapter? I really liked how we got to see Joseph in action and all these issues come up. And he was able to handle it really well. I mean, I don't know if I would be able to do that. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this chapter. Please subscribe and share this video. It helps for other people to find my videos. I post a new Bible study video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I can't wait to study the Bible with you again.